Hello, Kindred. Welcome back. Have I got a treat for you today? I had the pleasure of interviewing Juliana Page. We had the best time. It was an amazing conversation, completely God-led, and you are going to be so blessed by the content. So make sure that you grab a notebook because you are going to take lots of notes, I am sure, because I did, and I was part of the conversation. But let me tell you a little bit about Juliana first. Juliana Page is a best-selling author, master's certified life coach, and minister of God's vibes. Juliana has researched and immersed herself in the professional life coaching, ministry, leadership, success conditioning, and personal development fields. From her obsession to determine what makes the difference in people's quality of life, she helps people understand their model of the world, how to change their story to change their lives, how to steward their impact, and how to discover lasting fulfillment through contributing to the world in ways far beyond themselves. Juliana serves as a leadership and self-mastery strategist for organizations, companies, entrepreneurs, and individuals. Through her proven spirit-driven success method and the God's Vibes Mastermind program, she delivers practical wisdom and tools that empower purpose, spiritual wholeness, sustainable health, financial freedom, and relational fulfillment. Without further ado, here is the most awesome conversation between Juliana and myself. Are you stressed and anxious at work and feel like your life is out of control? Do you want to work from home and own your own business and own your own time, but don't know what to do or how to do it? Do you have interests and passions you want to pursue, but feel like you're stuck in your 9-to-5? Are you ready to follow God's plan for your life? Welcome to Choose Your Best Yes. Maybe you keep trying different MLMs and other side hustles that don't seem to work, but you know there has to be a better way. In this podcast, you will learn to hear and listen to God's voice, calm the chaos in your work and personal life, and battle and win the war against stress and anxiety. Hi, Kindred. I'm Mel, a professional woman, entrepreneur, coffee, and Jesus lover. I've tried every MLM and other way possible to start my own business. And after trying to be someone I'm not for far too long and wasting a lot of time and money in the process, I finally realized those paths didn't use my gifts, talents, and skills and were not the path that God has laid out for me. I finally stopped listening to the world's view of success and started listening to Him and following His blueprint for my career. And now my mission is to empower you to dig deep and know when to say yes to the things that God wants you to and no to everything else. Let me help you learn to move forward and pursue your passions and stay emotionally healthy while doing it. Imagine working from home in a career you love and scheduling your entire day your way. If you're ready to ditch that unfulfilled life for the life God meant for you and get your message out into the world, then you're in the right place. Kindred, let me show you how to calm the chaos in your life and pursue your true passions with an online business you love. Use your God-given gifts and talents and persevere toward your personal and professional goals. Grab your coffee, notebook, and pen and relax in your favorite spot. Kindred, it's time to take notes and grow yourself God's way. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. It is a beautiful day here in Missouri. It has finally warmed up. I am loving the beautiful weather. The kids are great at school. They want to get outside, and it's kind of hard to keep them contained because we're state testing. And so we're all tired and ready to go out and enjoy the sunshine once we get finished of a day. But I got home and I have the pleasure of having another guest co-host today. I have Juliana Page with us today. And we're going to get to know Juliana and listen to all of the wonderful things. She has a great podcast, but I'm going to let her tell us about her and all of her wonderful things. Hey, Juliana, how are you?
I'm good. We have great weather here too, so I feel you. It makes a huge difference when it's sunny outside.
It definitely does. Definitely does.
Difference. A little bit about me. I am a professionally certified life coach. I've been doing that since 2009. So that's a rare story. Usually don't hear that. It sounds like the coaching industry is new. And back then it was definitely not something people were talking about.
Right.
So I've been in the game for a minute. My background is in journalism and film production. That's what my degrees are in, which is silly. But I love helping people live their most courageous and impactful story. That's truly what I dedicate my time doing. So I would definitely say I'm a faith-based master certified life coach. That's what I spend my time doing. I've authored 5 books. I think we're cooking up another one this year. So we'll see.
Wow.
It's dropped. The idea's dropped twice. I'm like, oh no, when it hits 3, I know it's go time. So we'll see. But that one's cooking at the moment. And then I also have a podcast called God's Vibes.
That is awesome. You have a very full plate. Oh my goodness. I did not realize you were doing all those things. So I'm a little curious now that you said you are journalism and video. Is that what you said?
Yeah, film production. So it's all aspects of film, which was wild, literally.
Wow.
And it was basically a 4-year master's degree. So it was intense.
So tell me.
I would have not, for the record, I would never have considered myself a tech person. I'm like, I'm just going to write a solid essay and that's going to be how I get in there. It happened. I didn't have anything tech. I didn't have a camera, nothing at this point.
Wow. So tell me, do you use it at all? Like, do you use your journalism?
The crazy thing is I use all of it. And I just love how God works in that way. But I am a question master. So journalism definitely comes in handy. I have really learned how to ask very good questions. And when we ask good questions, we get great answers. A lot of times in life, because we ask really, really bad or poor questions, right? So I love that. And journalism initially, because we had to study the history of it.
Yes.
It was initially designed to inform the public good, which was my heart. I really wanted to have positive messaging out in the world. And then film came in handy after journalism because I realized that journalism was nothing like what I was learning about. And that was really disheartening, right? So anytime I would go and I would work or be in the industry, I'm like, I cannot see myself here. Like, I'm not built for this. This is not how I see my life. This is not the best use of me, but I still was connected to communicating and expressing yourself, telling a story, understanding character, understanding motivation, the arc of a narrative, all of that. I was obsessed. And it was really psychology and sociology at the same time. Pretty impressive.
Wow. I definitely I am impressed. I kind of think I'm sort of techie. I have an instructional technology master degree. But like, I'm not network by any means, a little bit, but not a whole lot.
Yeah.
But I definitely programs and stuff. That's where I really like to dig in.
To that point, I think that's where it's given me this I'll figure it out mentality. Like, it's okay if I don't know how, but I'll figure it out. Like, we had to learn reality TV. We had to learn a film set and how to shoot every single camera, like a 4-camera setup. We had to learn how to change film in the original cameras, right? You literally have to buy film, load it into a camera that you're in a changing tent so you can't even see it. And you hope to ruin your film and you don't see your film until after you shoot it.
Right.
Now you just use your cell phone, right? So
exactly.
The appreciation is a whole new level. But when it comes to anything, like, I'm recording audiobooks right now. And I'm like, I don't know how to record an audiobook, but I'll figure it out. Like, if I figured out how to do film, I'm sure I can figure out audio. So,
right. Yeah. And that's my mentality too. People are so scared of technology. And I'm like, well, if you mess up, we can probably fix it. I mean, unless you completely delete it and it's gone forever, like, you can probably fix whatever you did. And so people will delete stuff and they'll be like, oh no, what'd I do? And I'm like, well, just hit Control Z and it'll come back. And like they just don't know those like little things. And so it's kind of nice to be able to like help people through that. So
yeah. And there's Google University and YouTube University, and that's usually
exactly. Udemy. That's the one I use is Udemy. So
yeah.
well, that is awesome. So let's get started on our topic for today. My ladies, they are looking for clarity in where they're going, and they just, I had mentioned in one of my podcast episodes, or maybe even a couple, that motion has came to me, like God's put that in front of me a lot the last probably 3 or 4 weeks. Motion, movement, and not being stagnant. Let's just dig in. They're kind of in an identity crisis. They just really don't know what to do now. Like their kids are gone from home, or they're getting ready to leave, and they need some clarity and some direction.
Love. Even as you're saying this, like a few ideas are coming. So I hope I can like say it as it's being downloaded to me. But one of the things is this could be a really exciting time, or this could be an awful time, meaning it will be whatever meaning you assign to it.
Yes.
Okay? That's why this is so powerful, is that you have the power, and we all do this. We reinvent our lives over and over and over. You're meant to evolve. So that's something that can be really exciting, because you are a powerful person, meaning you get to make powerful decisions that create this reality that you desire even now. So you can start asking yourself these powerful questions and decide, what is this next season, this next quarter, the rest of this year going to be about for me? What am I going to focus on? What am I going to fill that time with? What am I going to invest in? And what am I not? So just know that you can assign whatever meaning you want to this, and that it is normal to continue to evolve and tap into different aspects of yourself. Right now, you're a gold mine. You've got all this untapped potential, and you get to explore it right now if you choose. So maybe when you were working, you never invested in community and relationships, and you get to do that now. Or maybe when you were so invested in your kids, you never really explored your dream or your desire, and you can actually put efforts and movement behind that now, right? So this will be whatever meaning you assign to it, is the first thing. Second thing is, we usually know way more than we give ourselves credit for. Usually way more. Okay. So something that's come up even this past week multiple times with some of my clients one-on-one was this, I don't know, it's just not clear, I'm waiting for it to get right. That. So I'm like, okay, what was really powerful is, on a sheet of paper, draw 3 columns. And in the first one, you write down everything you're thinking. In the middle column, you're writing down everything you're feeling. And then in the third column, you're writing down everything you know. Okay. And if you can picture these different categories visually, right? What you're thinking is all in your brain, and you can see where that's coming from once you at least get it out of you. When it's out, you can at least work with it. Like, where did that thought come from? Did that come from a parent back in the day? Did that come from fear? Did that come from, where did that come from? Right? Just, you can see it differently. Then emotions usually are all in your feels. They're usually living in this kind of like middle area of your body. Sometimes you can feel it like in your throat too. Your expression is. And then what you know is in your gut. Like, you know that you know that you know. It's your knower down there, right?
Right.
It's like, you can't question a principle. You know what I mean? You don't have to agree with the principle, but you can't question it. So there's this part of us, intuition, still small voice, Holy Spirit direction, it's your gut. But we usually don't look at that category. We live over in our most dominant thoughts, and then we live in all of our feelings. And what's wild when you pull back from this chart is, a thought triggers the emotion, which literally is the energy you're putting in motion, which is triggering your behavior.
Yes.
Or lack thereof, for that matter.
Right.
So you have a whole brain dump of just fear. No wonder you're anxious. No wonder you're probably overworking or staying busy. You're trying to numb yourself, or just being really distracted, and you're taking no action, or you're taking a lot of unproductive action.
Yes.
Right. So to get clear is to really embrace a divine pause and look at what is happening inside of you. I call this a soul scan. Like, if you're going to go through the airport and they scan you.
Yes.
Like, do this with you, with God usually, and look at your soul. Like, what is literally going on in my mind? how am I feeling? And is this how I want to feel? Right. And then what do I know? Like if I just moved off of what I know, just even like one piece of wisdom, if I just like chose to take action off of that one thing that I know, my whole life would probably change.
Yes.
But this thought that you don't know and it's not clear is the thing that's a stronghold holding you back. So if you can at least see it on a piece of paper, I find that so valuable. And then the other thing when it comes to clarity is sometimes you have to be willing to just step out and find out. You have to be okay not knowing all of the details. And a lot of times when we're talking about movies, right, God will give you glimpses, like screenshots of your future, right, to give you this impression, this knowing, and this prophetic word, rather, of where you're going. And this is just foreshadowing, right? Now, that's going to be a process. Sometimes that's years in the making, but it's a beautiful thing that you get to partner with him to walk out. And it will become clear the more you stay in action, the more you partner with him. So if you're not getting any clarity, you're probably not moving, to your point.
So can you give us a little bit more on God giving us glimpses? So like explain that to everybody.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just, with my first book, for example, this is something to me, which is silly. I never wanted to write. I thought that was utter punishment, in my opinion. Right. Like, go to your room and look at a blank screen, right? Like, it just did not sound fun to me. It was never a desire, but it was something that seeds kept getting planted my whole life around this. Do you write? You should journal. Have you ever written anything before? Like, that kept happening. Didn't matter where I was, but people could just sense that. But that didn't get unlocked until I actually ran into God and I gave my life to God. Then my creativity started unlocking. But what started to happen was I would hear, you need to be writing. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing in the season, but I kept hearing, you need to be writing. I'm like, that's interesting. And then those questions from outside would come. Do you happen to be writing anything right now? And I'm like, no, but that's interesting, because I was already getting that conviction.
Yes.
And then I was having like this instinct or this conviction about this was the time in the season to do it. And I'd already researched it years prior. So there's already all these emails in my inbox of having researched publishers, probably 3 years before that was happening.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, I'm just going to start writing and see what happens. Right. And so I started taking steps to do that. I had no idea how long this process was going to be. I got to the point where however long it takes. Right. And that was the only thing I did. I shut off all the noise in that season. And that was the only thing that I was doing. I was maybe volunteering, but it was pretty much like, listen for God, write, and volunteer.
Right.
That was it. Just so I could hear clearly and I could just like download or create with God, whatever that looked like. I didn't have an example. I didn't have a template. I had never written before. I didn't have a class on this thing. It was just like, I'm just going to write and at least get it out. And then I'm going to trust that you're going to guide me to the next thing that I need to know. And those steps kept appearing, but they were when I was in action. So, for example, in this case, had I not just started writing, I probably wouldn't have any traction and there wouldn't have been more steps that opened.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
So we get a glimmer that, like, another example of this, I was led to volunteer and ended up serving and leading in this ministry, but I was led to volunteer in a ministry. And so I was like, well, that's bizarre, but I'm going to go do that. So I stepped out and I met with a pastor and she's like, well, can you coach? And I'm like, well, that's ironic because that's like my background. Like, yeah, I can coach, right? Like she didn't know what it was. And then pretty soon I kept like stepping through all these different doors and could see what God was doing in those things. So it's usually a hunch and you want to follow through with instant obedience is what I like to say. Not like, oh, that's a random idea. No. Like actually follow through. Sometimes it's put it on your calendar, write that note down. Sometimes it's do it now.
Exactly.
But the more you listen, the more clear that becomes, which is really important.
Right. And that's the hard part, knowing like listening and knowing what he's saying.
Yes.
But on the flip side of that, going back to the writing just a little bit, so you were like getting all of these things to become a writer. And I wanted to be a writer so badly. I wanted to write an educational book so badly. And I tried and I tried and I tried. And I would submit things and they'd be like, nope, that's not what we want. Or like I would submit something. They're like, no, we're going a different, all of those things. And it finally dawned on me, God like prophetically said one day, you're writing in your podcast. Do you realize that? You're writing all of the time. And maybe you need to practice here first. And then when it's time, when you can actually devote time to it, then we can talk about you doing something on a bigger scale. So
yeah,
it's different for different people in different seasons of their life because of where we're at and what our obligations are. My obligation is right now to school, and I just don't have the capacity to add that kind of discipline to my life right now because I am committed to what I'm doing at the moment. But my job is ending in June. And so who knows where he's going to take me after that.
I love that you're saying this too, because I believe you can have it all, just not at once. Right. Every season is purposeful. So there's no such thing in my world as FOMO. I call it JOMO. Like there's a joy of missing out over here because I'm not missing out. Right. But you are literally fruitful in every season. That's the point. So to understand what season you're in, it's everything. Right. Like there were so many seasons where that didn't make sense. Another one that's coming to mind right now is buying a home, right? Like I was told by my tax guy even to buy a home like over and over and over again. And I would go out and I'm like, there's no inspiration on it though. Like I'm just not feeling it. And I wouldn't do it. But then undoubtedly there was this year where it's like I kept getting words on it. People kept like referring me to different realtors and brokers and different things. And it was just like literally coming up time after time after time. And I'm like, okay. And it would be like, the Lord is going to give you keys. God's releasing homes. And I'm like, what in the world? Like I was this was never on my radar. And then sure enough, as I started taking steps, I had bought and was in a home in less than 30 days, which does not. Right. So all that to say, when God is on it, you will know there's a different, you still have to show up and take the steps, but there's a different, you're graced for it. There's an anointing for it. There is favor on it. Right. And that's usually what I'm going for. Like if God's not on it, I don't want it. I've lived too many seasons where it's like, sure, you can do all the things and like high achieve and accomplish and like, yay. I'm like, no. Like, I don't care so much about the doing. I care more about the alignment. And who I'm being. And that's everything. And God really cares about our character, not our comfort. So that's really his priority in every season. Like, will you trust me? Will you do what I'm telling you to do? And so that's a great thing to do too. Sometimes he'll give you a word for the season. And sometimes he'll also give you a fruit. And what I mean by that is I have found that in many seasons, he will tell me what fruit he's developing in me, the fruit of the Spirit. So I'm like, all right, great. If he's developing patience, no wonder there's so many opportunities to not choose that. But if I know that's what he's working on, I'm like, I'm going to pass the test. Right?
Yes.
Or if he's developing long suffering, and that's exactly what it sounds like, I'm like, I'm not going to like this. And this is going to be probably way longer than I want it to be.
Right.
But what if you can even suffer well? Like, what if you can be in a place that you don't want to be? And that teaches you spiritual warfare, or that teaches you to be excellent no matter what, or that teaches you to honor God in all things and what you think and what you say and what you do. Like, you don't develop that in seasons where it's like, yay. You know what I mean? You're not challenged to do it in the same way.
Yes. And I was doing some Bible study the other day, and he revealed to me that we go through these different seasons for those different reasons, but also if he's testing us to see, like he's giving you small things to do to see if you're actually going to follow through. And so if you can't follow through on the small things, well, he's not going to give you the big things. And it's funny how he will give everybody different perspectives on that. And that's why having someone to talk to or listening to other people or, just having that collaboration really opens up your thinking. And
for sure.
You're never, and you mentioned comfort. There's no growth in a comfort zone. Ever. And so we get a stagnant mindset. And he wants us to always have growth mindset. And so that was my word. So this is big today. This is what he's telling me today, because I was listening to a book on tape earlier today. I don't have time to sit and read. So I have to listen in the car and while I'm getting ready to, anything. And that was the thing, growth mindset, and just really opening up your own, just your mind and your heart to being receptive to what's happening around you.
Yes. Yeah. And it always builds too, right? So
yes, layers. That's what he called it this morning. Layers.
Yeah, it's so true. And nothing is ever wasted either. So for example, I could have bypassed a healing season, but if I did that, I definitely wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today.
Yes.
Right. Or like, we might think we're good. We might think we're like healed, whole, and all the things, but God will show us differently. Right.
Yes.
Man's looking at the outward appearance, but God's always looking at your heart.
Yes.
But think about it in this way, right? Especially in the work that I do, the question and the overarching question that's always there is, can I trust you with my people?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's like, if you don't heal, if you don't renew your mind, if you don't stay pure and humble before him and moldable before him, how can you serve well? And be
Just a moment. My doorbell rang. No one ever comes to my door. I'm going to stop for just a second and see who's at my door.
I love it.
Okay, that was the weirdest thing. No one ever comes to my door. So, and it was a piece of mail that wasn't even for me. Apparently, it was for the person who lived here before me. So,
Like, so weird.
How funny. How funny is that? Have a little fun in your podcast.
Love it.
All right, let's try to get back on track now that we and I am taking like furious notes over here. So if I'm not looking at you, it's because I'm writing all your wonderful wisdom on my notepad.
So good. I love it.
And I hope people are writing this stuff down too. So if you have not gotten a notebook yet, please run and grab one, because this girl is on fire and she is giving us lots of words. I have words all over my notebook already.
Yes.
Okay. I don't even remember where we were now. Where were we?
He builds everything on previous seasons. Nothing's wasted. And you can't bypass the season either, right? So it's really important that you are fully embracing it. Like, I love my Bible mentor, Apostle Paul, where he says, I've learned to be content whether I have much or little, right? That's really the secret. Like, can you be content in every season? Because if you can be stable, you can be trusted, right? And you are able to respond well. Like, I used to have a horrible relationship with the word responsibility, because I took on a lot of false responsibility growing up. But being responsible just means you're able to respond well to life.
I love that definition.
Right? I'm able to respond well. So
I love it.
You can't respond well if you're not fully present in a season. And how are you going to, if you just think about it, how are you going to know yourself if you don't spend time with yourself? Or if you're not letting God reveal you to you? Or, usually the Bible reads you, not the other way around. So how are you going to get to know you if you're not doing that inner work? And spirituality, spiritual growth to me is just an inner journey, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
High level, deeper level personal development, right? Personal development is sort of surface. When it comes to spiritual, it's way deeper than that, right? And there's so much to go on there. But how are you going to know yourself if you don't go inward, right? How are you going to know who you are, what your purpose is, what your unique voice is, let alone how to express that and own that? If you never do that work, you are going to be moved and swayed by people that have, because whoever has the most dominant traits is going to be the one that controls things.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Something that I like to say is that the person with the most peace always has the most power. So when you can learn how to be safer at home in you and be peaceful, you can receive wisdom, you can process it, you can apply it, you can grow, you can evolve. But when you are escaping life, and we're great escape artists, or when you are avoiding things or not dealing with things and just thinking it's going to get better or pushing it down, none of that serves you, and it just prolongs pain. And
or even being irritated by stuff constantly. You need to do some self-reflection if you're constantly irritated by things. And like, I've had to like swallow that jagged little pill myself recently, because school it's a stressful environment. And if you don't know yourself well, you can fall into that trap of the complaining, the griping, instead of being empathetic and edifying. So definitely, I feel like I do my devotionals of a morning. And so I do the Bible app, the YouVersion Bible app, and I will listen to the one that they have daily. But then I always do some more, because whatever he's telling me at that moment is exactly what I need to hear. And it helps me really connect with my own feelings, my own thoughts, my own actions. And let me tell you, sometimes it burns when it stings a little bit when he says, listen, you're not doing the right thing here. Yeah.
But it's gentle correction, right? Like, God's heart is always compassion. The enemy is always condemnation, right? So it's really beautiful. And when you're being corrected, it just means he's leading you to greater. or
yes, exactly.
he's gonna take more gold out of you in some sort of a way. He's like, you're better than this. There's more excellence in here. Let's untap that, right?
Yep.
Let me help you. And usually when you are being easily agitated, you're giving your power away.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And I tried to
really, I think it's Joyce Meyer that says this. She says you can be pitiful or powerful, but you can't be both.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to go.
I
with the
love that.
option.
I'm going to be using that tomorrow at school.
Yeah.
Because I got some girls that seem to think they need to bicker with each other.
Yeah.
And they can't get past that. And I love that, pitiful or powerful. And which one do
and then you can just even start asking, like, what do powerful people do? What do excellent people do?
Yes.
Right? I'm going to start practicing and reinforcing that identity. It doesn't happen by accident. This is reinforcement.
All right, guys. That is all I'm going to give you for today. I want you to come back on Friday for the second half of this wonderful conversation, but I want you to sit and think about all of the things that we talked about in the first half. There's just so much information that could resonate with you that I want you to just let those thoughts meld in your head a little bit. And I will see you back here on Friday for the second part of our amazing conversation. See you then.